A college student was late, so his own friends gave him a tickling punishment. What happened next shocked everyone. So make sure you watch the video till the very end. Arian and his three closest friends, Caleb, Jordan, and Ethan, had been best friends since childhood. Arian was the naughtiest member of the group, but he had one weakness. He was never on time. One evening, the four of them planned to meet in a secret chamber beneath the university's old clock tower. It was their last night before graduation. When Arian arrived 45 minutes late, he saw that the heavy iron door of the chamber was half open. Old melodies were playing from inside. As soon as Arian stepped in, Caleb suddenly grabbed him from behind. Jordan and Ethan together forced Arian onto an old velvet chair and tied him with silky ropes. Smiling, Caleb said, "Brother Arian, you've once again wasted the last time we had together. Now you must face Silver Leaf's oldest punishment, the tickling torture." Arian laughed out loud. He thought it was just a joke. He said playfully, "Are you guys crazy or what? Come on, let me go. Let's start the party." But there was a strange moisture in Ethan's eyes. He pulled out a peacock feather and gently brushed it against the soles of Arian's feet. Arian burst into laughter. He started laughing uncontrollably, his whole body shaking. For the next 5 minutes, everything was fun. The four friends were remembering old stories, tickling Arian in between. But the suspense began when Jordan pulled out an old diary. In a low voice, Jordan said, "Arian, do you remember 4 years ago when we first came to this college? We were 5 friends. Where is the 5th one?" Arian's laughter suddenly stopped. His face turned pale. He remembered Leo, their 5th friend who had mysteriously disappeared after the first semester. The tickling continued, but now Arian felt that the hands using the feather were no longer Ethan's. He began to feel cold, icy fingers on his feet. The candles in the room started flickering on their own. Suddenly, Caleb stopped tickling and looked straight into Arian's eyes. Tears were rolling down his face. He said, "Arian, we know what happened that night. You risked your life to save Leo, but you never told us how broken you were after that incident." Arian began to cry. A strange mix of laughter and tears filled the room. The truth was that Arian was always late, because every evening he went to the place where Leo was last seen, hoping that maybe he would return. Then, in one corner of the room, a faint shadow appeared. It was Leo. He didn't look frightening. There was a peaceful smile on his face. He slowly came near Arian and placed his hand on Arian's shoulder. Leo's spirit tickled Arian, but this time, it was not painful or torturous. It was an old code they used in childhood to tease each other. Leo's voice echoed in the air. "It's time, my friend. Forgive me and live your life. You're not late, Arian. You're exactly on time." Suddenly, a bright light flashed. When Arian opened his eyes, Caleb, Jordan, and Ethan were hugging him. All of them were crying. They knew that today's punishment was only meant to lighten the burden on Arian's heart. In the morning, when they walked out of the clock tower, Arian felt as if a weight he had carried for years had finally been lifted from his shoulders. He was never late again, because he had learned that moments once gone never return. After leaving the clock tower, Arian thought everything was over, but he had no idea that the real thrill was just beginning. As they walked toward the campus gate, Arian felt something heavy in his coat pocket. He put his hand inside and was shocked. It was the same peacock feather used to tickle him, but now it had turned golden. They had only taken a few steps when the university's massive clock tower suddenly began to chime at 3 a.m. for no reason. Arian's heart sank. He turned back and saw that the emotion on his friends' faces was gone. A strange emptiness had appeared in Caleb's eyes. In a cold voice, Caleb said, "The punishment isn't over yet. Arian, that was just the trailer. The real tickling ritual must happen at the place where Leo left us." Arian's hair stood on end. He couldn't understand why the friends who had just hugged him now felt like strangers. Before he could ask anything, Jordan and Ethan grabbed him again. This time, their grip was as hard as iron. They dragged him to Moonlight Lake behind the campus, the same lake where Leo had disappeared. The fog there was so thick that they couldn't even see their own fingers. Ethan leaned Arian against a tree. Jordan took out an old bottle filled with a glowing blue liquid and poured it over Arian's feet. Arian felt as if thousands of ants were crawling over his body. This was not tickling, It was a spiritual shiver. Arian screamed, "What are you doing? Leo is gone. We just saw him." Ethan laughed softly. "What we saw was Leo's spirit. But to bring him back, we need to offer a sacrifice of laughter. Until you laugh with your last breath, he cannot fully return to this world." Then began a process of tickling unlike anything anyone had ever seen or heard of. Arian's laughter turned into screams. The more he laughed, the higher the lake water rose. The suspense deepened when a shape began to rise from the center of the lake. But then Arian noticed something. Caleb's hands were trembling. Tears were flowing from his eyes. Caleb whispered in Arian's ear, "Forgive us, brother. But Leo came to us in our dreams and said that if we don't make you laugh, he will take us with him." We were scared, Arian. Arian was stunned. This was the shocking twist. His friends weren't punishing him because they loved him, but because they were trying to save their own lives. Gathering all his strength, Arian shouted, "If my laughter can save all of you, then let it happen." He closed his eyes and surrendered himself to the madness of laughter. As his laughter reached its peak, a hand emerged from the lake. But it was not Leo's. It was a skeletal, ancient figure. Then a miracle occurred. The golden peacock feather from Arian's pocket flew into the air and struck the figure. A loud explosion followed, and all the fog cleared. Arian collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. When he opened his eyes, Leo was truly standing before him, flesh and blood. Exactly as he had been 4 years ago. Leo helped Arian up and said, "Your selfless laughter broke the old curse. Arian, you weren't fighting to save your lives. You were fighting to save me." With the first rays of morning, the four friends hugged each other. It was the most emotional and terrifying night of their lives. They understood that sometimes a punishment given in friendship can heal deep wounds. Arian looked at the lake one last time. There was no fear left there. He removed his wristwatch and threw it into the lake. Smiling, he said, "From now on, I'll never be late. Because now I don't have time to lose. I have friends to live for." The first sunlight turned the lake water golden. Leo, Arian, and the others were still trying to recover from the terror of that night. But as they reached the university gate, suspense once again spread its shadow. The campus gate, which was always open, now had a huge black lock hanging on it, and the security guards were gone. Suddenly, Ethan received a message on his phone. There was no number, only a video link. The moment he opened it, the ground seemed to slip from beneath their feet. The video showed the same basement under the clock tower where their punishment had begun. In the video, all four of them, Arian, Caleb, Jordan, and Ethan, were standing around the chair. But the chair was empty. Arian was not there. Jordan stammered, "If Arian isn't in the video, then who did we tickle all night? And who did we cry with?" Arian looked at his hands in panic. His hands were slowly becoming transparent. A phase of thrill and terror began that was impossible to put into words. Leo, who had just returned, now had that same frightening glow in his eyes again. With a cold laugh, Leo said, "What did you think, Arian? That someone who disappeared 4 years ago would return so easily? In the mountains of Montana, whoever is lost never comes back as a human." Suddenly, Arian remembered that night, 4 years ago, when Leo fell into the lake. In truth, Arian was not late. He had jumped into the water to save Leo. That night, deep in the water, Arian's breathing had stopped. The entire scene changed. Arian finally understood that he himself was a spirit, wandering around this college for the past 4 years. His friends, Caleb, Jordan, and Ethan, had been coming to the clock tower every year, performing the tickling ritual to summon Arian's soul, just to make him feel that he was still among them. Crying, Caleb came closer to Arian and reached out into the air, where Arian's faint form stood. Caleb said, "Forgive us, brother. We didn't want to let you go. That tickling punishment was not meant to hurt you. It was meant to remind you that you could laugh again. Your laughter was the only thing that made us believe you were still with us." Spiritual tears fell from Arian's eyes. Now he remembered everything. It wasn't Leo who had disappeared, it was him. Leo had survived that night and was now completing his graduation. The suspense was over, replaced by deep pain and emotion. Arian saw his friends standing in a circle around him. Smiling, Arian looked at them one last time. He felt his soul being set free. He moved his fingers in the air, as if giving them all one last tickle. A soft echo of laughter spread across the campus. It was not the laughter of fear, it was the priceless memory of friendship that even time could not erase. As the clock struck 8 a.m., Arian's shadow disappeared completely. The gate lock opened on its own. Caleb, Jordan, Ethan, and Leo, who was now truly there, walked out with heavy hearts. They knew Arian was no longer with them. But in every cold breeze of Silver Leaf University, his laughter would live forever. And before the video ends, if you are new to the channel, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.